busy schedule for joining our webinar session. Before I get started, if you could just quickly confirm in the chat that you can hear me well and you can see my screen, right? That's something that I want to confirm before I proceed further. If you can just confirm that on the chat quickly, we can move right ahead. Can everyone just confirm that in the chat? Fair enough. All right, thanks for that. All right, so today we are in our third session on the Copilot for Microsoft 365 Zero to Hero webinar series. So if you're someone who has been actively participating in this webinar series, or if at all you had the opportunity to go through the recordings, the first 22 sessions we spoke about what is Copilot, and then we also did a deep dive on the architecture of Microsoft 365 Copilot. So today we want to talk about how should you go about preparing your organization, meaning basically your Microsoft 365 tenant. How should you go about it, right? So let's jump right in. So just want to make sure that I'm setting the expectations for this webinar series. So the targeted audiences are business users, or you could be a power user, or Microsoft 365 admins or architects, or you could be a developer, or you may be an IT admin or a solution architect or sales professional. So no matter whichever background you're coming from, we have something that you can take away from as a part of this webinar series. The end goal is to make sure that you're getting yourself familiarized with the concepts of Copilot for Microsoft 365. You understand how to deploy this service. You understand the different customizations that are out there, the different administration settings, the privacy, security, licensing, pretty much everything. That's going to make sure that we want to make sure that you're successful in your journey in learning Copilot for Microsoft 365. The key takeaways here are we want to make sure that you walk out of this session having a very good understanding about Copilot for Microsoft 365. You also understand how to use it, how to deploy it, customize it, so on and so forth. Our expectations from you before coming to this webinar series is we want to make sure that you have a very detailed understanding on what Microsoft 365 is, because the sole purpose of this webinar session is to help you understand what is Microsoft 365 Copilot and not what Microsoft 365 in itself is, right? So that's something that we anticipate from you. That is something that we hope that you already have, and you have a detailed understanding of that. All right, let's keep moving. So how do we plan to run this webinar series? So as I said, the first few sessions were predominantly introductory stuff. So we were just talking about the basic concepts of Copilot for Microsoft 365, the architecture and stuff like that. The goal is to make sure that we want to do at least about 15 to 18 sessions, but time will tell about how many sessions we want to do in this webinar series. All these sessions are recorded. And we'll be announcing this, and we'll be posting this in my YouTube channel, and we'll also share the recording link with you. So the sessions will be announced in the Microsoft 365 Power Platform and Cloud Security India UG meetup group. So if at all you're not a member of this meetup group, please make sure that you're a member so that you don't miss out on the announcements. So each session will run for about 60 minutes, wherein we plan to do about 50 minutes for the entire session. This includes the theoretical part as well as the demo, and then we'll spend the last 10 to 5 minutes doing the Q&A. All right. Okay, so today the agenda, as always, we want to make sure that our agenda is crisp and it's simple, and we just, make sure that we talk to the point and you get what exactly you want from this session. So we are going to talk about what are the prerequisites for Microsoft 365 Copilot, right? So if at all you want to have Copilot, Microsoft 365 Copilot in your tenant, what are the prerequisites that you should already be having? And how should you prepare and control your data in SharePoint Online for Microsoft 365 Copilot using SAM? Since pretty much the data management, right, or is something which happens on the SharePoint side of things when it comes to Copilot for Microsoft 365, right? Your data could be sitting on Teams, your data could be sitting on OneDrive, your data could be sitting on, let's say, your email exchange online, or your data could also be sitting on SharePoint Online. But as long as it's your data is sitting in Teams, it's pretty much the underlying repository for that is SharePoint Online. So in this session, we'll be talking about how to make sure that you control your data in SharePoint Online. And in the upcoming sessions, we'll be touching on the other data sources as well. And then we'll also be talking about how should you optimize search in SharePoint. SharePoint search, SharePoint has been traditionally known for its wonderful search capabilities, but there is quite a good amount of tweaking or optimization that you need to do to make sure that when you're querying for a certain keyword, SharePoint displays only the results that it's supposed to display and not everything. So we'll talk about how should you optimize your search in SharePoint for that. And finally, we'll also have a Q&A. So that's the agenda. Let's move on. So in terms of preparing your organization for Microsoft 365 Copilot, this is like a three-part series. What I'm trying to say is in preparing your organization for Microsoft 365 Copilot, there are three different parts. Today is the first part wherein we're talking about how to get your SharePoint ready for Copilot for Microsoft 365. The next part we'll be talking about how to do data security, compliance, and privacy. Maybe in a other session we'll be talking about it, and then we'll be talking about licensing and adoption. So prerequisites for Microsoft 365 Copilot, keeping the licensing piece apart, right? There has been numerous conversations about what should be the base licensing. Does Microsoft 365 E5 encompass Copilot for Microsoft 365 as well, right? Because initially when this product came out, people thought that as long as I have an e-file, I'll also be getting Copilot for Microsoft 365, but that's wrong, right? Copilot for Microsoft 365 is always an add-on service, but you also need to make sure that you have a proper base license, because only on top of that base license, you can top up your Copilot for Microsoft 365 license. So it's a per user license, but we'll be talking more in detail about the licensing part at a later session. I do not want to bring and talk about that here because there is a lot that we need to talk in terms of licensing. But when I say prerequisites for Microsoft 365 Copilot, these are the services that the user should have, right, for him to take advantage of Microsoft 365 Copilot. So Microsoft 365 apps for enterprise, this is nothing but your basically your desktop apps, the Outlook, the Word, the PowerPoint, OneNote, and stuff like that, right? So that's what you mean by Microsoft 365 apps for enterprise. This is part of your Microsoft 365 licensing. So you need to make sure that these tools are pushed to the user's endpoint. They have the Word, Excel, and PowerPoint, and it is always running the up-to-date version. We'll talk more about which channel it should be running, but these tools need to be deployed. Microsoft Entra-based account, I believe that's a given, because as long as you're using Microsoft 365, you should definitely have a Microsoft Entra account. OneDrive accounts, because that's where most of the content that gets generated will be stored. So you need to make sure that OneDrive account is available for the user. Some organizations, they do not enable OneDrive by default, and some organizations by default, they enable OneDrive for their users. So you need to make sure that OneDrive is enabled and it is available to the user. New Outlook for Windows. So basically, for you to use the Microsoft 365 capabilities in Outlook, so that maybe you can ask the Copilot in Outlook to write an email for you. You can give the prompt and it'll write the email content for you. I believe in the past you could do that only in the new Outlook client, but now even on the legacy Outlook client, the Copilot add-in shows up. So, but just make sure that you're running the right version so that you can take advantage of Microsoft 365 Copilot even on Outlook. Microsoft Teams, because of course you want to make use of Copilot in Teams. Then Microsoft Loop. This is at least my favorite product, and I'm sure a lot of you can echo that. So if at all you want to take advantage of Copilot on Loop, that is also something that you can think of. And update channels is an important piece. When I say update channels, these are basically what sort of update the Office desktop client in your endpoints are running. For you to make use of Copilot add-ins in your Office desktop apps, you need to make sure that you're running at least the current channel or the monthly enterprise channel, because only on these two channels, the Copilot for Microsoft 365 add-in will show up. If at all you're running a different channel, such as a semi-annual channel, the Copilot for Microsoft 365 add-in wouldn't show up. And whatever I'm saying is as of today, but always please go back and read the up-to-date information on docs.microsoft.com, because these things tend to change. Maybe a lot of these things which I'm talking about is the as a state, but these might change few months from now. Okay. Network requirements. It's similar to any other SaaS offering. You need to make sure that you're whitelisting the necessary URLs so that the Copilot service can seamlessly function in all your endpoints. But if at all you're using a cloud proxy such as Zscaler and stuff like that, then it's pretty much taken care of. Then make sure that you have the right licensing. As I said, we'll talk more about licensing on a different session. But the one thing to bear in mind is your Copilot for Microsoft 365 is a separate licensing in itself. It doesn't come along with your E5 or any other higher SKU. So just keep that in mind. And end user training and help desk readiness, this goes without saying. No matter whatever new service you want to roll out, you need to make sure that your end users understand what it is and how to make best use of it. And also the help desk professionals understand what it is and how they can support the users in terms of readiness or making sure that they can answer their queries. So how Copilot gets access to your content. And this is something which we briefly talked about in our previous session. I was, showing a small demo about how the Copilot for Microsoft 365 architecture is set up, what happens. But at a very high level, this is what happens, right? You submit a prompt, you open the Copilot app, you submit a prompt. It could be as simple as, hey, get me this document or something like that, right? Or can you just go ahead and write an email about so-and-so? It's a simple prompt that you give. And what happens is the Copilot orchestrator determines what it needs to answer to the prompt. So it understands your question and it determines what exactly I should be returning back. So this orchestrator, it goes and checks inside Microsoft Graph, because Microsoft Graph is the one which is sort of powering all these results. Pretty much whatever you do gets stored inside Microsoft 365, gets stored inside Microsoft Graph. Don't think of it as a database. It's sort of an interim state, but all the documents that you have written, all the documents that has been shared with you, all the email content, the Teams chat conversations, pretty much anything that is relevant to you as a user in Microsoft 365, it gets stored in Microsoft Graph, right? So it does make sense for the orchestrator to go and ask to search and ask for the content in Microsoft Graph. And this is also permission aware. So you can get access only to the files or the contents that you have access to. For something you don't have access to, you won't be able to get those results. So the orchestrator appends info to your prompt to enhance it, and then it sort of generates your response. I'm just giving a very 10,000 feet view of what exactly it does. But if you go back to the previous session recording, there is a very detailed presentation that I have done on how exactly Copilot processes your response, how exactly the architecture is set up, so on and so forth. Yeah. So this complete process of you giving a prompt as an end user and Copilot, responding back to you with the correct response, this is called as retrieval augmented generation, right? And this is not something which is specific only to Microsoft 365 Copilot. Any generative AI solution does the same. It's just that the name retrieval augmented generation, you'll see this across different generative AI solutions also. You talk about Amazon, you talk about Google, you talk about, there are so many other different generative AI solutions out there, right? So the concept remains the same, and you'd see this word called as retrieval augmented generation across all these different other Gen AI services as well. So think about this very scenario. Just imagine that it's a Friday and you're sort of done for your day, and you just want to go to Copilot and you want to ask a normal question, and your question is something like, hey, are there any org changes happening next month, right? So this is the query that you would go ahead and ask, because you're kind of curious, and it's the season for org changes, I would say, right? A lot has been happening in the IT industry, so you're just curious. You want to know what exactly is happening in your org, right? So as you type this query, you would see a bunch of results show up, and one such result comes up with a file which is named such as confidential, something like this, right? Confidential Q2. So while the others are like, it just basically talks about this, so this one catches your attention. So ideally, something of this nature or something, a file like this, it should be confidential. I mean, a normal user shouldn't be seeing this file because it talks about the org changes which is going to happen, the reorg which is going to happen, right? And something like this should be confidential. But they didn't do a good job in classifying that file, which is why you're seeing that file even though you're not supposed to see it as a normal user. Maybe if you're in the leadership, or if at all you have something to do with reorg, maybe it makes sense for you to see it. But if you have nothing to see, maybe if that's, you're not the right candidate for that, you're not someone who was supposed to be seeing it, then there's something wrong. You shouldn't be seeing such sensitive files, right? So the reason for such things to happen is basically because of too much of oversharing, right? Too much access and too few controls. And this is a problem which we have seen with SharePoint for a very long time, right? I assume most of you who have joined here have a detailed understanding about SharePoint. You guys have been working in SharePoint for quite some time. Years have passed, but still the problem that we are seeing with SharePoint permissioning has always existed, right? It's not a SharePoint problem in itself. It's just that the way we set up the permissions for these files, which sometimes people end up seeing something which they are not supposed to see in the first place. And oversharing is a byproduct of collaboration. And I think this is something which we all agree to. We don't do that by mistake. Basically, we are trying to share because we want to make sure that we are collaborating together, right? You want to make sure that all your coworkers, your peers, your partners inside and outside the org, everybody has access to the content. But you basically meant good, right? But then in the process of doing that, you end up oversharing, and it's basically a byproduct of collaboration, right? And you would see this happening a lot on OneDrive for Business and also on the SharePoint sites as well. These are some common causes of Copilot oversharing in SharePoint. So one is setting your site privacy to public, right? There are some sites which has to be public, right? Maybe a site which talks about HR policy, a site which talks about your leave policy, finance policy, transport policy. It makes sense for those sites to be public because that has to be public to everybody in the org. But not every site inside your organization has to be having the privacy setting as public. But if you go ahead and look at your SharePoint sites today, I'm sure that you'll see a lot of sites are set to public, even though the content inside is not supposed to be public to everyone. The other problem is setting the default sharing option is everyone. And this is something that we would have seen across, right? Because it's so easier for anybody to go ahead and set the sharing option to everyone rather than sharing it to only the individuals who needs to have access, right? I would say it's kind of a lazy approach because we ourselves understand that you're not supposed to do it, but then every time somebody asks for that file, you would have to go there, click on it and share it. So we just think that I just go ahead and share it with everyone so that anybody who has the link can go ahead and access it. So that's at times what happens is even a person who's not supposed to have access to that file would end up having it, right? Broken permission inheritance. So permission inheritance is something which is known in SharePoint. So even though at the site level, the permission is set differently, when it comes to the subsite, you break the permissions and you sort of try to give a different permission altogether. Even this leads to oversharing in SharePoint. And the other important thing is the usage of everyone except external users group. Making this as a SharePoint only group, you will see this only in SharePoint sites. By giving permission to this group, everybody in your organization, meaning every authenticated user in your organization, can have access to the contents in that site. And also the other important thing which we fail to do is classifying the sites, right, as well as the files. We need to make sure that the sites as well as the files has the right sensitivity label. Only then that even though you as a user fail to set the permissions properly, it would sort of try to inherit based on what is the site or the file's sensitivity level, and it'll automatically set its permissions. What I'm trying to say is if the site's, let's say, sensitivity is set to confidential, then there is no way you can make that site as public because it's understood it has to be only private, right? So even though you miss something, the system itself will be smart enough to correct it. And this is something that we don't do. And these are some common causes for Copilot oversharing in SharePoint. Now, how do we address this? That's what this session is all about, right? So whatever I spoke about, a lot of you pretty much would accept to the fact that this was not today's problem. This problem always existed. This problem was always there in SharePoint, right? It's just that Copilot introduced this to everyone. So it's think of it as a, you know, Copilot came in and then it sort of started speaking about all these problems that are there in your tenant. Because even before Copilot, nobody even bothered about all this. But now that people are going and asking questions, they're putting prompts, they start seeing results, and then they're like, oh my God, this is something which I shouldn't even be seeing, and now I'm seeing it, right? So in one way, introducing Copilot sort of help you understand how poor your SharePoint governance is. There are two ways, there are two powerful tools to address this oversharing problem. So one is the SharePoint Advanced Management feature. This is additional licensing that one needs to purchase. But the good part is, if at all you have a Microsoft 365 Copilot license, then you don't need to purchase this additionally. As of Jan 2025, in along with your Copilot Microsoft 365 license, you also get the SharePoint Advanced Management licensing as well. Okay. And then the other thing is Microsoft Purview. We'll be talking in detail about Microsoft Purview on a different session. Maybe on the next session, we'll be talking about how you can make use of the tools in Microsoft Purview to control data oversharing and the other side of the things, right? But today we want to focus upon how to make use of SharePoint Advanced Management to control all the problems which I just spoke about. So these are the three things that we want to focus: how to make use of SharePoint Advanced Management to control your content sprawl, how to control oversharing and prevention, and also how and also about the complete site life cycle, right? And this is also something which you need to take care of. And SharePoint Advanced Management does a very good job in taking care of these three things. So SAM licensing, this is something which I was just speaking about. In the past, this was a separate add-on that you need to purchase if at all you're a heavy user of SharePoint, right? This costed about $3 per user per month. But now, as long as you have Microsoft 365 Copilot, this comes along with that. But I just want to make sure that I'm sort of double clicking there, and I just want to make sure that you understand it clearly. You don't get all the features and functionalities of SAM with the Microsoft 365 Copilot license, but pretty much everything that you need to control your SharePoint governance comes with this. So in that way, it's a good win-win for both you as a customer and also for Microsoft. So enough of me talking. Now let me hand it over to my co-speaker Vijay to show all this in action. So Vijay, over to you.
Yeah, thank you, Vignesh. Are you able to see my screen?
It's coming up. Yeah, I can see it.
Okay, thank you. And you're able to hear me, right?
Sure. Yeah.
Yeah, okay. So thank you, Vignesh, for providing the quick overview about how Copilot works, and especially on the RAG part, and also like the key pain points and pain points around the content sprawl, oversharing, and the site lifecycle. And as a next step, what we are going to do is I'm going to walk you through all the pain points that Vignesh was mentioning at eye level and see how we can mitigate that or take a necessary action with the help of SharePoint Advanced Management, which is basically the SAM tool. Okay. So let's go. Like I've categorized those problems into different steps. Let's go step by step. The first one is how to minimize or reduce the accidental oversharing within the Copilot results. Right? It's crucial to understand and implement the best practices around the SharePoint sharing settings, and this needs to be done both at the organizational level as well as at the site level. Okay, so first, let's talk about at the organizational level, the sharing link. Okay, so I'll quickly go to the SharePoint site. I'll show you what I'm talking about and what options are available at the SharePoint Admin Center and what is recommended option to choose for the default sharing option. Okay. So if you look at the SharePoint site, I have this SharePoint site demo project 2025, and I have documents. Whenever you share, when you click on share, you have the link options like copy link, right? So when you go to the settings, you can see my default sharing link. When I want to share my file in the SharePoint, you can see the default option that it shows is people you choose, which is recommended to have this particular option. Okay, let's go to the admin center and see what are the options available and how we can set this up. right? So I'll go back to the SharePoint Admin Center, and you can go to the policies. Under policies, we can go to the sharing. So you can see different permission levels here from least permissive to the most permissive. Again, it depends on organization to organization and what level of permissions they need to set it up. Okay, but always make sure you follow the least privileged access principle. So again, based on the requirements, make sure you go with that particular principle. So let's talk about that sharing option that what I was showing you when I share that want to copy like the link settings for a particular document when I want to share it. So yeah, here you have different options available, right? So only people in your organization, anyone with the link, and specific people. So it is recommended to go with the specific link. The reason is like if you go with only people in your organization, anyone with the link, then it comes again the risk of oversharing. Okay, so this is the setting available at the organizational level, and the recommended option is to go with the specific people, and so that whenever anyone shares any files or files or the folders from SharePoint as well as from the OneDrive, they will see this particular option. Okay. And the next one is like this also like Vignesh mentioned, right? Like everyone except external users. Like what happens is like when you're sharing the content, like it can be a SharePoint site or the files or folders or list or libraries. You have an option like you have an option intentionally and unintentionally you can add this everyone except external users. What does it mean is you're sharing the content with the everyone, right? So how can you hide or restrict this particular option at the tenant level, right? So the like the only the option available is you can do this using the SharePoint Online management shell, for which you need to have the SharePoint administrator access. Okay, so you can run this particular PowerShell command, set -spo tenant, and the parameter is show everyone except external user claim, make it as false. So that when our users want to share their site or something in the people picker, they don't see this particular claim, and we can restrict this one by disabling this option at the tenant level. Okay. Similarly, like all users also, if you want to disable that claim group in the people picker, you can do that also through the PowerShell command. Going back here, so we spoke about at the organizational level. The next one is at the site level. So it is really like a crucial to train the site admins or the site owners about the sharing controls. Okay, like they need to be aware of what kind of permission levels are available, like site level permissions, list level permissions, height level, item level permissions, and about SharePoint groups, and also like how they can restrict the site members in while sharing the files or folders with others, right? So the training both admins and owners, it will play a crucial role over here. And also that thing is like when you're like accessing a SharePoint site, sometimes you might not have access, and you will see a message called request access. So who should be receiving this message or the request so that they can review and provide you access? So it is recommended to route these kind of access requests to the site owners itself, and and it is available at the site collection level. Uh, Sorry for that. Okay, so the next one is like next let's we have seen this one also. Let's go to the move to the next step. Ensure all sites have valid owners. Why this is critical, right? Why do we need to have valid owners for all the site collections, right? So when Vignesh was going through some of the key pain points, especially on the content sprawl and also the oversharing content, right? So for content sprawl, like what we can do is like we need to clean up the inactive sites basically, right? So again, like we'll see how to clean up that inactive sites, how to identify it, how to generate that report, all those things we'll be seeing in the upcoming slides. But just to highlight level, let's see one important thing is regarding to manage the content sprawl, we need to clean up the inactive sites. So in order to clean up the inactive sites, a owner should attest or confirm that they still need that site or not. And the next thing is regarding the oversharing problem, right? So oversharing of content, oversharing of that content. So we also need the site owners to do some site access review for the identified sites which are considered to be having the oversharing risk. Right. So for this purpose, we need these valid owners to be available. Right. So how do we identify this one? How do we identify that all the sites have valid owners or not? This is where Sam come into picture. It provides a policy or a feature like called site ownership policy, which helps us to identify the ownerless sites. It generates a report of all the ownerless sites, and also it helps us to find the appropriate owners when needed. Okay, so instead of talking more about the site ownership policy, I'll quickly walk you through the site ownership policy itself in the SharePoint Admin Center, and also we'll see how to create that policy, what are the options available, how the reports are generated, and what can we do as a next step with the help of that report. Right. So let's get into a demo. I'll go back to the admin center itself. And again, the prerequisite for this is we need to have the SharePoint Advanced Management subscription. That's a prerequisite for this one. And once we have this, we can come you can go to the SharePoint Admin Center, and under that you have under the policies you have site lifecycle management. Okay, I'll go to that one. So you can see this is a pro, basically the license. You need to have the proper subscription, and you can see site ownership policies. I'll click on this, and I have already created two policies, okay, just for demo purpose to showcase you what are the different modes available, right? So you can see your different modes here: simulation mode and active mode. Simulation mode is mainly used for when you want to generate the report to get a list of sites which are non-compliant, which doesn't have proper valid owners, right? And if you want to take it further, you can go with the active mode, which means that not only for generating the reports, also to send notifications to that particular site owners, other members. We'll see what are the options available while we are configuring this policy also. Okay, so I'll just quickly go to this one because the report is already available with me. So we'll go to this one. So if you see here, this particular thing, the criteria is every site should have two valid owners, two site owners basically. Okay, so that's why based on that criteria, I have 50 non-compliant sites which doesn't have two owners. Okay, I'll also go through the detailed report also. And if you see the scope, while we are creating the policy, I'll show you what is the scope, what configurations are available, and what is the general thing, policy name and description, everything. Right? Okay. Before creating the policy, I would like to show the this one report. So this is how the report looks like. Okay. So this is the generated report. So if you see here, the minimum, my criteria is to have minimum two owners or admins. But if you could see here, these are the number of sites, like 50 sites have it's been identified, which doesn't have two owners. Okay. I'll go back to the admin center. Let's create a new policy itself. Okay, I'll create a new policy. So as I mentioned earlier, so this policy, while we are creating this policy, it will give you multiple options. One is generating the monthly reports of non-compliant sites based on the criteria that you specify. And also the next thing is you can send the notifications, okay, to send the notifications. And this particular, when it is in active mode, you will be the report will be generated every monthly basis, on monthly basis. And then after even there is no action taken after 3 notifications, then we can take the necessary action also. What needs to be done if the owner or the people like whom we are sending the notification doesn't take any or doesn't respond to that, right? So these are the things available. You can generate the reports, you can send the notification and act on non-compliant sites. Okay, so let's go to the next one. scope. Okay, like you can select the scope, like basically to which site templates that you want to apply this policy to, right? Okay, so these are the templates that are available for now. You can select all the site templates, and also you have an option to filter it based on the sensitivity label and also by site creation source. Let's see, site creation source. You can select, okay, if it is created through SharePoint Home, SharePoint Admin Center, or through PowerShell, PNP, or Teams. So you can filter it based on these available options, sensitivity label or the creation source. And also you can include size with retention policies and retention goals. And in case if you want to exclude some of the sites from this particular policy, you can select this option, exclude specific sites from the policy, and you can enter up to 100 sites. And you need to enter the site collection URL like this. Okay. I just uncheck this option and click on next. This is what it is, right? Who should be responsible for each site? Again, it depends on organization to organization, right? In some organization, the site admins will be mostly the IT operations teams, and site owners will be the people who will be managing the site. And in some cases, site admins will be managing the sites. Okay, it depends on organization to organization. Based on your criteria, select who should be responsible for each site. In my case, I'll select site owners because for each site that we are creating, site owners are responsible for that site. And you can select this criteria, minimum owners or admins required for each site. Okay, so it's recommended to have two people. So that's why if you see my previous policy that I've created, I've chosen two. So I would go for two here. And also who should be notified, right? If in case like we have seen the report of non-compliant sites where there are no valid two valid owners. So in that case, who we should be sending the notification, right? We have different options like current site owners. In case if there is only one owner, then it will be sent, a notification will be sent to that one owner. And also you can include the site admins. And also the important thing is like you have an option to select active site members. Like so if I select active site members, you can choose the numbers between 2 to 10, because in most of the cases what happens is like when we are creating the site, we will be adding our managers, or like we will be adding our like a supervisors as the owners, but like they will not be actually doing the doing some work with that SharePoint site. It will be like site members who will be actively doing some activities on the site, right? So it helps us to like you can select this option so that what happens is the site members who are active like both read and write operations. So you can see over here measures read and write activity of site members across the site and identify most of the active members. So you can select two to any number between 2 and 10. So I'll be selecting 2. Okay, so the notifications will be sent to them on monthly basis, and if they are not responding to that, like after even after 3 notifications, then you can take an action on this one. Okay, so here you can either set access to read only or no change in access. So the best option, like I would recommend to go with set access to read only after 3 notifications. If there is no response from the owners, then what I want to do is I want to set that access to read only. Okay, so the site will be set to read only, and then I'll click on next. So here you will be entering the policy name, description, and the policy mode also. Right, it can be simulation mode or active mode. So simulation mode, as I mentioned earlier, it will be generating only the report, whereas active active mode will be running on monthly basis, and the notifications and act on the ownerless sites. Okay, so I'm not going to create it. I've already created that and also executed like a report has been generated. So I'm not going to that. One thing to note here, like a the OneDrive sites, and also the tenant admin sites, or the sites that are like a home site, SharePoint home site, or the sites created using this system accounts, or like app catalog sites. These sites will be excluded from this particular policy. Okay, and also the sites which are already set to read only or the lock state, they also will be excluded. And in case if the site has been set to read only through this policy, they will be able to get the notification. Okay, so this is the thing that you need to remember, and I'll go back to the presentation. So as I mentioned earlier, it helps you to identify the ownerless site and you can find the appropriate owners when needed. And this policy runs every month. And also we have seen that what is a prerequisite and also what it does actually. Okay, so the notification will be in this particular format. So you will be receiving this email because you are the site owner, and the site is not compliant, and it will provide a link to that particular site, so you can go to the site and take the necessary action. Okay, so we have seen the demo. We'll go to the next step, the cleanup unused sites to manage content sprawl. So like again, like we spoke about the contents, Paul, because on daily basis, the contents has been created and like a lot of SharePoint sites are getting created. Uh, in order for the Copilot to generate the proper response or better response, like we need to have the updated content, right? If you have old content, what happens is the Copilot is going to give you less accurate responses or inappropriate responses. So it is recommended to clean up those inactive sites or the outdated content, right? So how do you identify those inactive sites? Like previously, like it's all used to be manual activity, like you go to the SharePoint Admin Center, generate the report, download the report of all sites, see the activities, and then you need to have your own process in sending the email notifications. And if there is no response, there are a lot of manual activities involved. So this is where Sam provides a feature to automate this process, like to generate the report and to send the notification and to take the necessary action. It's similar to the site ownership policy. Okay, this is also similar to that one. Let's quickly get into a demo before going to the next slide. Okay, I'll go back again. It's in the same SharePoint Admin Center. I'll go to the policies under the site lifecycle management. So we have seen the site ownership policies. Similar to that, we have inactive site policies. Okay, I'll click on open. So more or less the options available and also the activation mode, it's all same. So activation mode, you have simulation mode and active mode. Again, simulation mode, it helps you to generate the report alone. Whereas when you turn the simulation mode into an active mode, it helps you to send the notifications and also take the necessary actions. Okay, first we'll see the existing policy, and then we'll also go and create a new policy to go through the options available for this one. Okay, so if you see here, I have already created the policy, and the policy also has been executed. It has generated the report, so you can download the report from this policy, and also you can. This is in a simulation mode, so I can activate the policy so that it will notify the site owners and everything. Okay. Scope, again, like we'll see when we are creating the policy, we can I'll walk you through the scope and the configuration. So here the condition is no activity for at least 1 month. Again, it depends on your organization, how many months you want to set it up for the inactive sites. Okay, for demo purpose, I have set it for 1 month. Okay, so you can download the report, and you can go through the report also. So I have already downloaded the report, make read only active sites. So you can see this is the report that it gets generated. So it gives you the site name, site URL, who is the owner, and all those details are available in this particular report. Okay. And also you have an additional feature like get AI insights. What it does is it helps you to identify the potential risk or patterns and also provides an actionable recommendation to solve those issues. Okay, so I've run that one, get AI insights. So if you can see, these are some of the patterns or the potential issues that has been identified over here. Okay, so for example, sites inactive for over a year. So it has been identified there are sites which are inactive for over a year, and it is providing an recommendation also should consider archiving or deleting the sites to optimize the storage. Similarly, multiple inactive sites with the same owner. Okay, so there are a lot of site collections with the same owner. So again, it provides an recommendation telling that may want to review the sites owned by this particular owner to manage resources efficiently and consider consolidating. So based on the report, it has been generated with the help of AI. You can get more insights. Okay, so let's create a new policy and see what are the options available. Okay, so again, it's similar to site ownership policy. You will be able to generate the report and send the email notifications. And also you can act on the sites that are inactive for more than 3 months. Okay, it's the same thing. Like you can select the site templates, like which site templates you want to select. I'll select all. And also you have an option to filter by sensitivity label, filter by site creation source. And also same thing, like you can exclude sites from this particular policy. Okay. I'll click on next. So how long after the last activity should a site be considered inactive? So you have these different options: 1 month, 2 month, 3 months, or 6 months. Okay, and again it depends on your requirement. You can go with that. So for example, like for demo purpose, we can choose the site 3 months. And who should be notified? Again, like it depends, like organization to organization. In this case, for a demo purpose, I'm selecting the site owners. And what should happen? What action should the policy take on inactive sites? Like there is like no action has been taken after 3 notifications, right? And it again this policy also gets executed every month on monthly basis. Okay, so after 3 notifications, if there is no action taken, what should we do? So either you can do nothing or take an enforcement, right? So you have an options again. Either like you can make the sites read only, okay, or you can also archive the sites. Okay, so this is the recommended option. So for example, like when you want to choose this option, like what will happen is like for a certain time period, you can select the duration that my site after 3 notifications, my site needs to be set to read only for 3 months or 6 months or 9 months. After that period, it should be archived. Okay, and in order to have this option, like you need to turn on the Microsoft 365 archive, and there is a detailed step-by-step instructions to do that. I've not done in my tenant, so I'm not going to choose that option. So I'm going to choose the read-only access. But in case if you, this is the recommended option also. In order to do that, there is a documentation available for that to turn on Microsoft 365 archive and what needs to be done. Okay, I'll click on next, and you can again, like you will be entering the name and description and what mode you need to select, like based on if you want to generate only a report or you want to send a notification and take action. Then you will go the active, and then you just need to click on finish. Once a report has been once a policy has been created, it takes some time to run the reports, generate the reports, and then it will take the necessary actions. Okay, I'll go back to this one. So that's how you can automatically make use of SAM policy to clean up the inactive sites. Okay, already we have seen this one. And again, like the prerequisite is SharePoint Advanced Management subscription, you need to have that one. And we have seen the demo. Okay, going to the next step. So how we will identify the sites with potentially overshared content? So when Vignesh was walking us through the different scenarios of overshared content, right? So like without going into the content, because like as a site owner, I might have lot of content in a particular site, or I might have lot of site collections under my name, right? So how do you identify the sites with potentially overshared content? And before even that, what is overshared content means? Like what is overshared content? So basically when like we have seen the sharing options that are available, right? So the content that has having the sharing options as everyone except the external users or anyone, people in your organization, or even if the content, if the site has been shared with everyone except external users. These are certain options available. When you see the content with these sharing options, then it is considered to be the having the potential risk of oversharing. Okay. And again, like few years before, like when I work with the different customers, what we need to do is like we need to run some PowerShell scripts to get all the permission reports and everything, and that needs to be we need to review it manually to see like a different like what how it has been shared. It's a lot of manual activities involved. Again, SAM provides a feature or provides a feature to automate this entire process to identify the sites with a potentially overshared content. It will help you to generate the reports and take the necessary actions or how you can remediate it or to resolve these issues or take necessary actions to resolve these issues. Okay, so it provides two features. One is the data access governance, and data access governance helps you to generate the reports based on the site activity, and also you can block download policy. You can make use of block download policy. It applies for both for SharePoint and OneDrive while you are addressing the risk of accidental data loss. Okay, so let's go to the data access governance. And again, the prerequisite for this one is SharePoint Advanced Management. Let's quickly get into a demo itself. Let's see what are the different options available as part of this data access governance, what kind of reports that we can generate, and based on the reports, what action we can perform, right? We can go to this one. Okay. So I'll go to the SharePoint Admin Center, and then under the reports, you can see data access governance. Okay, I'll click on data access governance. You can see here different options available, different reports available. One is the sharing links, which we spoke, and the content shared with everyone except external users, sensitivity labels applied to files. Let's quickly have a demo on this one because based on this, there is a continuation on site access review also. So we'll go to this particular reports, content shared with everyone except external users. Okay, so I've already created a report for this one. So there are two types of reports. First, I'll click on create report so that it helps us to understand what are the options available. So you will be providing the name for this one, report name, and again you can select the option of what templates needs to be included. Go with all sites. Okay, and the privacy, it needs to be a public or private. I'll go with all again. And sensitivity labels, you can choose the sensitivity labels, and the report type, site membership or specific files, folders or list. Basically, when you have a SharePoint site, like in case if you have not restricted or hide that everyone except external users claim in people picker, then unintentionally or intentionally they would have shared the site with everyone except external users. See, again, I'm not again there can be a scenario where that is really required, but again we need to generate the report and see review it. It is really valid to have that or not for that particular SharePoint site. Okay, so you have two options, report types. Site membership. Site membership means like when you have the SharePoint groups, when you add everyone except external users or other specific files, folders or lists. Okay, I can select site ownership and click on create and run. Okay. Okay, I think you already have a report with these filters. Run it again to view the latest report. So I already have that report. So I'll go to this particular report, which I have generated long back. So you can see a number of sites scanned for this particular report, a number of sites fulfilling this report criteria. So I got one SharePoint site demo project where I have everyone except external users in one of the SharePoint group. Okay, so this is what it is going to generate the report. Okay, so this will help you to identify the sites which is having the everyone everyone sorry, everyone except the external users claim added to the any of the SharePoint group or it at the file level or folder level. Okay, so again, we will discuss more about on the next action how, like, okay, we have identified the sites, what to do with this one. like what necessary action do we need to do, for which we have the site access review. I'll be showcasing that demo in the next slides. We'll go back to the reports. We'll go back to the reports alone. We'll see what are the other reports available. And when we talk about how we can control access, site access review, we'll talk about that. We'll show you a demo about that one. Okay. So sharing links, we'll go to this reports, view reports. So there are different sharing options, which I showed you in the step one itself, right? Like specific people, when you're sharing a specific file or folder or the site, you have different options available. So specific people in your organization, and anyone. So even you can run these reports. Okay, so I have already run the report and run the report. I could see that people in your organization, one site found. So when I go over here, again, like you can see the report over here, how many sites are impacted or fulfilling this report criteria. And also you can download this detailed report, and also you can initiate the site access review for this one. Okay, so data access governance help you to generate the report to identify the sites which are, or identify the content which are overshared basically. Okay, go back to this one. Okay, so we have seen that what are the different types of reports and how you can run that, or different report types available, how you can download the reports and everything. Okay, so the next option that is available is like you can block the download policy for SharePoint and OneDrive sites also, in order to block the users from downloading the files from SharePoint as well as from the OneDrive sites without the use of Microsoft Entra conditional access policy. So what it does is like it will allow the users to access the content through the browser while you are addressing the while addressing the risk of accidental data loss. Okay, and again, this policy will also block the users from accessing the content from the apps also, including the Microsoft desktop apps. Okay. Once this policy has been applied, you will see a banner at the top of the site that your organization security policy doesn't allow you to download, print, or sync from this site. Okay, so how you can enable this particular option? How can you do this one, right? So the prerequisite for this one is like you need to have SharePoint administrator access, and this can be performed. It's like you don't have this option available through the UI in the SharePoint admin center. So only option is you need to do this through the SharePoint Online management shell, and it is at the like site level. You can do this one. So this is the PowerShell command. So type an SPO site, and you need to provide the site URL, and you have the option to block download policy, set it to true. Okay, so this is the example for this one. And you can do the same thing for OneDrive URL also. And also you have additional parameters that helps you to exclude certain people or group or SharePoint group from this particular restriction. Okay, so you can either exclude the site owners from the policy, or exclude the mentioned groups from the policy, or SharePoint groups. And also, like on top of this blocking the things, you can also set the site to read only, also read only for blocked download policy. So this gives you time to address any issues or anything like that before the to avoid any data loss. Okay, so this is what we have seen. So if you go to the SharePoint Admin Center and under Advanced Management, so you will see these options. Again, like you can't do anything you can't configure this at the Admin Center level. You need to you need to execute that through the PowerShell. I'll stop here. There are two more steps I need to go through. I'll stop here. Any questions till now? Okay, I'll continue with the next one. So now we are seeing the problems, right? Like oversharing, also the content sprawl, basically the oversharing the content, right? We have seen that. We have seen the data access governance, how it is generating the reports and everything. So how to take necessary action, how we can remediate those issues. right? So that's where like how we can control access to these contents, right? So SAM provides these three features. One is the site access review, and the other one is the restricted access control policy, which we call it as RAC, and also the restricted content discovery policy, RCD. Okay, we'll go one by one. So first, we'll talk about the site access review. Okay, so we have seen the data access governance. Like I'll directly go to the demo itself so that it's clear. I'll go back to the data access governance. Okay, I'll go to this view reports. So we have seen that there is one SharePoint site. There is one SharePoint site where it is shared with everyone except external users, right? So what action we can take? You can select the site, like we can select all the sites, multiple sites also can be selected, and we can initiate the site access review. Here I'm not able to do that because I have already initiated the site access review and it has been completed. So I'll go back to the report. I'll go to the view sharing links. I know that people in your organization, I'll go here. I'll go here and initiate the site access review. So when you do that, you need to add comment to the site owners. You can add some comments and you can send this one. Okay, so I have those screenshots available over here in the presentation. So this is what I'm doing it. You go to the data access governance. You have like you already the report has been report has been generated with all the sites with this overshared, and then what you can do is you can select the sites, you can initiate the site access review, you can provide the command, it can send that. So what it will happen is it will send a notification or send a request to the site owners. Okay, so this is how you will be receiving, the site owners will be receiving an email notification telling that, okay, requested that your site needs to be reviewed. Okay, so let's go, like for example, I've got the notification. Let's go to the site and see as a owner, as a site owner, let's go to the SharePoint site where it is having the overshared content and see what action do I need to take. Okay, so I'll go back here. So I'll go to the demo site. I think this is one of the site which is having the everyone except external users. So I can go to the site settings, and you can see. I'll go back. Sorry, I'll go back to home. Okay, I'll go to the settings and you can see something called site reviews. If you go here, you can see all the requests for this particular SharePoint site. Okay, so I don't have anything over here. Okay, let's go quickly. Yeah, it might take some time actually. Can you please? Okay, once you do that, what happens is it sends a notification. It sends a notification like this. Sorry. Yeah, it sends a notification, and then you can go to the navigate to the SharePoint site reviews, and you will be able to see all your requests like this. Okay, and then like what you can do is you can take, once you click on this link, it will take you to the page where you can take the necessary actions. It will directly tell you like in which SharePoint group this particular everyone except external users has been added, and then what you can do is you can remove that and you can mark this particular request as completed. Okay, so once you mark that request as completed, so if you go back to the data governance, access governance, you also have the other tab called my review request, and you will be able to see all the requests. So this is the one demo project, okay, for which site review request was been asked, and you can see all the details over here. So yesterday only I've raised a request for site access review, and it has been completed. So from the admin command, the site is shared with everyone. Could you please review? The site is overshared and take necessary action immediately. Okay, and the reviewer, basically the site owner, what they have done, they have removed that particular everyone except from that particular SharePoint group, and this site should be shared with every. Okay, the reviewers commented that this site should be shared with everyone. Okay, and then it's been completed. Okay, so this is how you can for these the reports that are generated in the data access governance, you can initiate the site access review, and so that the site owners can take the necessary action in case if they feel like it is really required. This is a public site. This needs to be shared with everyone. Then they can acknowledge or attest that okay, this site should be shared with everyone. This is where we need the valid site owners for each and every site. Okay, let's go back to this one. Okay, so we have seen this site access review. The next one is the next feature is site access control. Okay, okay. So now we are sent for example, through the DAG report, data access governance report, we have identified there are 50 sites for which we have initiated the site access review. Right. So again, it's not easy. Like all the site owners are going to take a immediate action. There might be a lot of time involved to that. Sometimes they would not even seen the notification, or they might have lot of sites for which they need to go through it, or they need to have some internal discussions and everything. So a lot of it's going to take time, right? It's going to take time. So as a SharePoint administrator, how you can mitigate this overshared content issue until the site review access has been completed, right? Because what happens is if it is open for a long time, then what happens is as Vignesh mentioned how the Copilot works. When users are raising requesting sending a request, it's going to generate the response from these overshared content also, right? So as a SharePoint administrator, what options are available for you? One option is restrict access control. What you can do is it applies at the site collection level. So what you can do is as a SharePoint administrator, you can restrict the access for this particular SharePoint site, which is considered to be overshared. And this site, this how do you identify this as a watershed? So you already have generated a report. From that report, you can go to that site collection and you can make it as you can restrict that access, and you can restrict that access to a specific group of people. Okay, so that's what it is. We can directly go to a demo first. I'll go back to the active sites. Okay. And before that, right, before that, we have to do this at the tenant level also. There is a setting available. So site level access restriction. This is part of the SharePoint Advanced Management, and you need to enable this one at the tenant level. This can be done through the console, through the basically through the admin center, as well as through the PowerShell also. Okay. So if you're going to do through the PowerShell, you need the SharePoint Online Management Shell. Okay, once this has been done, you can go to the active sites. For example, I go to a demo project. Okay, so if you go to the particular SharePoint site, which is considered to be the identified as the overshared, which is having the overshared content. Okay, go to the settings. You will see an option to restrict the site access. Okay, so you can edit this one, and you can just enable this option by selecting this, and then you need to specify the specific group. This can be a Microsoft 365 group or the security group also. Okay, email enabled security group, and up to 10 groups you will be able to add it. Okay, once you have added and saved it, what happens is only the members of this group will be able to access the SharePoint site. Others will not be able to access that. For example, consider I am having the site collection administrator access itself. Okay, but I'm not part of this particular group. Then I will not be able to access that demo site. Again, one more thing to note down is like it doesn't mean that if you keep adding people to this group or removing people from this group, they will automatically get access to the SharePoint site. No, How it works is, even if I'm adding a member to even I'm adding, for example, I'm adding Vignesh to this one, okay, to this particular group, it doesn't mean that he will automatically get access to that demo project site. He should also have access to that SharePoint site. Like, he should be part of any SharePoint group, or like based on the whatever the SharePoint permissions that he have, he will be able to access the content. I hope that is clear. Okay, so as I mentioned, you need to do tenant level setting. You need to enable it at the tenant level, and it might take up to 1 hour. Okay, and also we have seen this one on the SharePoint admin center level. And also we have seen this particular thing, like you need to go to the active sites, select the sites, and the settings levels, you will see this particular option. Also, as I mentioned, up to 10 Microsoft Intra security groups or Microsoft 365 groups allowed. Even the dynamic security groups are allowed. And this is what the experience would be. Okay, so if you're going to this site where the access control setting has been enabled, if you have access, user with access, if you see here, user with access, if they go to the site, under site permissions, they will see this notification: restricted site as access is on, only owners and members of this group can access this site. And the user without access, even though they have SharePoint site access, proper access, but they are not part of this particular group, demo project 2025, they will be seeing this one, this message: your organization policy prevent you from seeing the content of this site. Okay. So until the site access review has been completed, as the SharePoint administrator, you can make use of this particular option to mitigate the oversharing issue. And also you have one more option called restricted content discovery. Okay, so how it differs from the previous one, restricted access control, right? So what happens with the restricted access control is you're changing the access level itself, because like you're restricting all the access and providing access to only to a specific group, right? So you're changing that access level. Whereas with restricted content discovery, RCD, you no need to do that. Okay, so already we have seen how the Copilot works, right? So when you're searching for when you're sending a request to Copilot, it is going to generate the response from the Microsoft Graph or from the SharePoint content, and it works similar to Microsoft Search, right? So what we can do here is, like, you can enable this option again, it is at the site collection level. Once you enable this option, you will not be able to get the results in the org-wide search as well as in the Copilot. It basically prevents the sites from surfacing in organization-wide search and the Microsoft 365 Copilot Business Chat. And this option cannot be applied to OneDrive sites. Okay, so again, this is like, again, for preventing the accidental discovery of high risk sites. Until the site access review has been completed, you can consider this option also as a site collection administrator to prevent any accidental discovery. Okay, so the prerequisite is same. You should be part of SharePoint Advanced Management subscription, and also you should have SharePoint administrator access. Okay, again, I will show you a demo. Like, we'll go to the directly go here. Yeah, it's again the same thing. Active sites, settings. You can see here. Yeah, restrict content from Microsoft 365 Copilot. So you can turn it on or off, and you can see the description over here. So when you do that, you're restricting the content appearing from the graph, SharePoint agents, and org-wise search. But when the setting is on, content will be, so still you will be like, if you have proper access to the site or access to the content, you will be still able to use that content. And within the SharePoint site search, you will be able to search the content and everything. Only it is restricted from the org wide and from the Copilot search results. Okay, and the same thing can be done through the PowerShell script also. So you can see here, you can set the SPO site. You need to provide the site URL, and you can turn it on or off. Okay, and you can also check the status of that. Okay, all these settings we have seen. So also an example of enable before RCD and after RCD once by turning it off and turning it on, right? So without RCD, okay, I have a product XYZ SharePoint site and I am asking something about, can you give the share the details about product XYZ? Okay, it is like this site, consider this site has been considered with a high risk site. Basically, it has been overshared, and like someone is asking about that, it is going to return me the results, okay, because I have the access. But if I enable the RCD, right, even if I ask that information, even though I have access to this particular SharePoint site, okay, but I'm asking the Copilot, it is not going to return me the results. Okay, this is how you can restrict the content from like surfing in the org-wide search or the Copilot results. So these are the three options available how you can control the access of oversharing content: site access review and access restrict access, and then the restricted content discovery. Okay, so these are the options that you can make use of it. And also with the RCD, you can also get the generate the report. Like for example, if you want to know for how many site collections this option has been enabled, so you can do that. You can generate the report, and this report you can generate using the SharePoint Online Management PowerShell only. There is no UI available. So you need to just start the you need to start the report, and you can get all the reports, get the reports, and you can download the report also with these PowerShell script commands. Okay, and you can see the report sample. You will have the site details for which RCDs has been enabled. I know I've like it's time already. Like this will be the last. This will be the last step, and also I would like to talk about a little bit about the optimize the search also. Yeah, I'll take maximum 5 to 10 minutes. Yeah. So how you can take proactive measures on business critical sites. Again, we have seen all these three options, right? So if you have business critical sites, and how you can take the proactive measures. So we can make use of these three options: restricted access control, restricted content discovery, and the block download policy thing. Okay, we have gone through the demo. Also, we have seen what are the options available, how you can do that. We have already seen that. So like for the business critical sites, you can make use of these options, which is available as part of SAM. So the last topic is about the optimized search in SharePoint. Why we need to optimize the search in SharePoint, right? So again, I'm recapping. Like when you send a request to the Copilot, it is going to generate the response, and it is the content. The Copilot gets the content from Microsoft Graph and as well as from web content optionally, and also like it is going to get the content from the SharePoint, right? How it works exactly? It's similar to the SharePoint search itself. If you search something on your Microsoft search, it's going to return the results based on the permissions, based on the content that is can be discoverable, all those things. It's going to return the results. So similarly, that's how the Copilot also works. So it is recommended to make sure that you optimize the search in the SharePoint. Okay. So what options are available? Okay, I'm just going to talk about this particular topic alone, restricted SharePoint search. Let's consider you are planning to enable the Copilot for your organization. So we have seen multiple pain points, multiple options available, multiple pain points, multiple options available to remediate that or take necessary action on that, right? But all these things are going to take time. It's not going to happen on single like on 1 day or 2 days, right? It's going to take a lot of time. And also the important thing is like it's not just not one time activity. You need to keep doing that also. So like if you want to enable the Copilot and make use of that Copilot, so the temporary solution would be like, for example, you want to enable this to the pilot users and they see how it works, and you want to take necessary actions to improve the Copilot and all those things. So in order to start with that, so you need content, and for as a temporary solution, what you can do is you can make use of this restricted SharePoint search feature. Okay, how this is differ from restricted content discovery, right? So I have what we can do is we can select the allowed sites. Like for example, I can take only the sites that needs to be used for the Copilot to generate the response, right? So for example, I have done the site access review for 50 sites. It's all done. Site owners have validated it. It's all good to go, and it is having proper updated content and everything. So I want to use only that 50 sites for my Copilot thing. So to enable my Copilot. So we can make use of this text SharePoint search. What it actually does is you can like have that only 50 sites to be enabled for the Copilot to generate the response. So it's how you can do that. You can do that through SharePoint Online Management PowerShell script. So that is where when you want to enable that RSS, you have something called allowed list. SharePoint sites can participate in org-wide search and the Copilot experience. So it allows you time. It gives you time to review and audit all the remaining site permissions or to perform the site access review and everything. Okay. So these are the PowerShell scripts that are available. So like you want to enable the RSS mode or disable the RSS mode. Once you enable it, and you can have a list of SharePoint sites that can with a like you can have it as a CSV file, or like if you want to send it as a list through comma separated values. So you can do all those things, and you can just create an allowed list and then add that allowed list to the restricted SharePoint search, so that only those sites will participate in your org-wide search and Copilot experience. And this is a temporary solution. Okay, don't because like if you are restricting the number of SharePoint sites, the responses that you are going to get will not be that accurate, or it's going to give incomplete response, or it's going to give inaccurate response. Because for Copilot to give accurate response or better results, you need a lot of contents, and that to the updated content. Okay, so this is just to start with for a pilot experience kind of thing. So you can make use of this restricted SharePoint search feature. So how do you create this allowed list, right? Curated allowed list. So obviously there are various steps involved. Step one, you can get the initial list of sites. So like each and every organization, they know the number, like known sites, right? These are the known sites, or for these sites, we have a top active sites. So all those things, information you can collect it from the SharePoint Admin Center or DAG report that we showed before. So you can get that one. And also the next step is review site permission. So once you through the site access review, once you have done the site access review, so you can consider those sites, and then you can take these sites as the allowed sites, and you can apply the allowed sites to the restricted SharePoint search feature. Okay, that's it from my side. Any questions?
So folks, if you have any questions, put it in the chat. Well, I know there was a lot for you to digest, but then if you want to see this recording and come back later and ask some questions, that's fine as well. But while you're here, if you have any questions, just feel free to ask that.
Okay, so these are some of the useful resources.